Welcome to Rome. The Eternal City, a place where ancient ruins whisper tales of emperors and gladiators, where Renaissance masterpieces adorn churches and museums, and where the modern and ancient worlds collide in spectacular fashion. Rome wasn't built in a day, and it certainly can't be experienced in one. But today, we'll attempt to capture the essence of this magnificent city. From the iconic Colosseum to hidden treasures tucked away in narrow cobblestone streets. Whether you're planning your first visit, returning for more, or simply traveling. From the comfort of your home, this journey will reveal why Rome continues to captivate the hearts and minds of millions. This is a city that rewards the curious, the patient, and the observant. As the Romans say, Roma, non basta una vita. For Rome, one lifetime is not enough. So let's make the most of our time together as we explore the wonders of the Eternal City. To understand Rome, we must begin with its ancient heart. Here, among the ruins and remnants of what was once the center of the Western world, we find the seeds of modern civilization. Before the Colosseum, before the grand basilicas, there was the Forum. This valley between the Palatine and Capitoline Hills was the beating heart of ancient Rome for nearly 1,000 years. These weathered stones once formed the backdrop for political speeches that changed the course of history. Julius Caesar walked these paths. Laws that would shape Western civilization were debated here. This was not just the center of Rome, it was the center of the known world. As we walk along the Via Sacra, the sacred road, try to imagine this place not as ruins, but as a bustling center of commerce and politics. Temples with gleaming, marble columns, government buildings where the fate of millions was decided, markets filled with goods from across 3 continents. These triumphal arches celebrated military victories and reminded citizens of Rome's growing power. The Arch of Septimius Severus, built in 203 CE, commemorates victories over the Parthians in modern-day Iran and Iraq, evidence of just how vast the Roman Empire had become. The Temple of Antoninus and Faustina shows Rome's remarkable continuity. Built as a pagan temple in the 2nd century, it was later converted into the Church of San Lorenzo in Miranda. This adaptation rather than destruction is a theme we'll see throughout Rome, layers of history building upon one another. Today, archaeologists continue to uncover new findings in the Forum. Each discovery helps us better understand the lives of those who built the foundations of our modern world. It's impossible to visit Rome without being drawn to this colossal structure. The Flavian Amphitheater, better known as the Colosseum, stands as perhaps the most recognizable symbol of ancient Rome. Completed in 80 CE under Emperor Titus, this massive structure could hold between 50,000 and 80,000 spectators. Think about that! A sports arena built nearly 2,000 years ago that rivals the capacity of many modern stadiums. What you see today is just a skeleton of what once stood here. The Colosseum was originally covered in travertine limestone and marble. Colorful awnings protected spectators from the sun. And beneath the wooden floor, now exposed, was a complex system of tunnels, cages, and mechanical lifts called the hypogeum. The Romans were master engineers. The Colosseum features a sophisticated system of 80 entrances and exits that allowed the massive crowd to enter and exit efficiently. The design was so effective that many modern sports stadiums still use similar principles. While we often associate the Colosseum with gladiatorial combat, it hosted a variety of spectacles: wild animal hunts, executions, dramatic reenactments, and even mock naval battles when the arena was flooded. The Colosseum's history after the fall of Rome is equally fascinating. It served as a fortress, a quarry for building materials, and even housed workshops and housing at various points. It wasn't until the 18th century that it began to be preserved as the historical monument we know today. Overlooking the Forum and the Colosseum stands Palatine Hill, the most central of Rome's 7 hills, and arguably the most significant in terms of the city's foundation. According to legend, this is where Romulus founded the city in 753 BCE after killing his twin brother Remus. While mythology and history blend here, archaeological evidence confirms that this hill was indeed among the first areas settled in Rome. As Rome grew from kingdom to republic to empire, the Palatine became increasingly exclusive. By the time of Augustus, Rome's first emperor, this hill had become the imperial residence. The word palace itself derives from this hill's name. Walking through these ruins requires imagination. These crumbling walls once formed opulent palaces, with colorful frescoes, elaborate mosaics, and stunning views of the city below. Emperors from Augustus to Domitian expanded these complexes, each trying to outdo his predecessor. This elongated structure, resembling a hippodrome, was likely a private garden and walking area for the emperor. Imagine strolling here, overlooking your empire, making decisions that would affect millions across 3 continents. In the 16th century, Cardinal Alessandro Farnese built Renaissance gardens on part of the hill. These gardens, some of the first private botanical gardens in Europe, represent another layer of Rome's history: the Renaissance appropriation and appreciation of classical culture. As the Roman Empire transformed, so too did its spiritual landscape. The rise of Christianity fundamentally changed Rome, transforming it from the capital of a pagan empire to the spiritual center of a new religious world. Crossing the Tiber River, we arrive at Vatican City, the smallest sovereign state in the world and the spiritual center of Roman Catholicism. At just 44 hectares, this city-state packs an astonishing concentration of artistic and architectural wonders. St. Peter's Square, designed by Borromini in the 17th century, creates a dramatic entrance to the Basilica. The colonnades embracing. Arms symbolize the church welcoming the faithful. The ancient Egyptian obelisk at the center was brought to Rome in 37 CE and later moved to this location, another example of Rome's layers of history. St. Peter's Basilica stands on what is believed to be the burial site of Peter, Jesus' apostle. The current structure, completed in 1626, replaced an earlier 4th century basilica. Many of the greatest Renaissance and Baroque artists and architects contributed to this masterpiece. Bramante, Raphael, Michelangelo, Bernini, and Maderno among them. The sense of scale inside is overwhelming. The central nave stretches 211 meters, and Michelangelo's dome soars 138 meters above. Bernini's bronze baldacchino, the canopy over the papal altar, stands 29 meters tall, yet appears almost delicate in this vast space. Among the many treasures, inside is Michelangelo's Pietà, carved when he was just 24 years old. The smooth marble depicts the Virgin Mary holding the body of Jesus after the crucifixion. The technical mastery is matched by its profound emotional impact. For those willing to climb 551 steps, or take the elevator part way, the view from Michelangelo's dome offers perhaps the finest panorama of Rome, a perspective that helps understand how the ancient, Renaissance, and modern cities intertwine. Connected to St. Peter's Basilica is the Vatican Museums complex, housing one of the world's greatest art collections. Originally built as the Papal Palace, these buildings now display treasures collected by the Church over many centuries. The sheer scale of the collection is staggering. You could spend weeks here and still not see everything. The Gallery of Maps, with its 16th century topographical maps of Italy, stretches 120 meters. The Raphael rooms showcase the genius of the Renaissance master and his workshop, but all paths ultimately lead to Michelangelo's masterpiece, the Sistine Chapel. As a visitor, you'll feel the anticipation building as you approach this sacred space. No camera can truly capture what it feels like to stand beneath this ceiling. Painted between 1508 and 1512, Michelangelo's frescoes illustrate stories from Genesis and create a symphony of color and form that has left visitors awestruck for centuries. The famous creation of Adam, with God's finger nearly touching Adam's, has become one of the most recognized images in Western art. But equally impressive are the other scenes: the creation of Eve, the flood, and the numerous figures of prophets and sibyls. Later, between 1536 and 1541, Michelangelo returned to paint the Last Judgment on the altar wall. Darker and more turbulent than the ceiling, this massive fresco shows Christ judging humanity at the end of time. The artist included his own self-portrait, in the flayed skin held by Saint Bartholomew, a reflection of his suffering during the arduous project. Today, the Sistine Chapel still functions as a sacred space. This is where the College of Cardinals gathers in conclave to elect a new pope, continuing a tradition that connects modern Catholicism with its long history. Beyond the Vatican, Rome houses over 900 churches, each with its own history and artistic treasures. Santa Maria Maggiore, one of Rome's 4 major basilicas, contains 5th century mosaics that rank among the oldest and most important early Christian art in the world. San Giovanni in Laterano, not St. Peter's, is actually the Cathedral of Rome. As the inscription states, it is the mother and head of all churches of Rome and the world. The massive statues of the apostles lining the nave create an awe-inspiring atmosphere. Perhaps most remarkable is the Pantheon, originally built as a temple to all gods, later converted to a Christian church. The perfect proportions of its dome, the same height as width, and the engineering feat of the unsupported concrete dome with its central oculus demonstrate why the Romans remain unmatched in certain architectural achievements. When it rains in Rome, it rains inside the Pantheon, yet the building has stood for nearly 2,000 years, surviving when many newer structures have crumbled. If ancient Rome showcased engineering and power, and Renaissance Rome revived classical ideals, then Baroque Rome was all about emotion, drama, and sensory experience. Piazza Navona exemplifies Baroque urban planning at its finest. Built over the ancient Stadium of Domitian, this elongated piazza retains the shape of the original racetrack, where Romans once watched athletic competitions. At the center stands Bernini's masterpiece, the Fountain of the Four Rivers. Completed in 1651, this fountain features personifications of 4 major rivers, the Nile, Ganges, Danube, and Rio de la Plata, representing the 4 continents known at that time. Look closely at the details. The Nile figure covers his face because the source of the Nile was unknown then. The Rio de la Plata figure appears to shield himself from the nearby church of Sant'Agnese in Agona, designed by Bernini's rival, Borromini. Though a popular story suggests this was a deliberate slight, the fountain was actually completed before the church facade. The piazza transforms throughout the day. In the morning, local vendors set up. By afternoon, street performers entertain crowds. At sunset, the warm light illuminates the ochre-colored buildings. And at night, the illuminated fountains create a magical atmosphere. Today, this remains one of Rome's most beloved public spaces, a place to see and be seen, to enjoy a gelato or coffee, and to appreciate how urban planning can create spaces that remain relevant centuries after their creation. Few monuments in Rome draw crowds, like the Trevi Fountain. Completed in 1762, this massive Baroque masterpiece stands 26 meters high and 49 meters wide, making it the largest fountain in Rome. The central figure represents Oceanus, ruler of the seas, flanked by abundance and health. The backdrop resembles a triumphal arch, with the entire composition seeming to emerge organically from the palazzo behind it. The tradition of tossing coins, 1 coin to ensure a return to Rome, 2 for falling in love with an Italian, 3 for marriage, results in approximately $3,000 being thrown into the fountain each day, money that goes to charity. While always crowded during the day, visiting at night offers a special experience. The illuminated water against the travertine stone creates a dramatic effect that captures the Baroque spirit of theatrical lighting and emotional impact. The fountain actually marks the terminus of the Aqua Vergine, one of Rome's ancient aqueducts, restored in the Renaissance. Even today, the fountain is fed by the same water source that has supplied Rome for over 2,000 years. Another example of how ancient infrastructure continues to serve the modern city. The elegant cascade of 135 steps connecting Piazza di Spagna with the Church of Trinità dei Monti creates one of Rome's most recognizable vistas. Designed by Francesco de Sanctis and completed in 1725, the Spanish Steps, named for the nearby Spanish Embassy, represent a masterful solution to connecting 2 levels of the city. At the base sits the quirky Fontana della Barcaccia, the ugly boat fountain designed by Pietro Bernini, father of the more famous Gian Lorenzo. This fountain commemorates a boat that was carried into the square during a Tiber River flood. Today, this area forms the heart of Rome's luxury shopping district. Via Condotti, leading away from the piazza, houses flagship stores of Italian and international fashion brands. The nearby Cafe Greco, opened in 1760, was once the haunt of artists, writers, and composers, including Goethe, Byron, Keats, Mendelssohn, and Wagner. Despite city regulations now prohibiting sitting on the steps, this remains one of Rome's favorite gathering spots, especially at sunset, when the warm light bathed the travertine steps in golden hues. While Bernini may be Rome's most famous Baroque architect, his rival Francesco Borromini created equally stunning works. San Carlo alle Quattro Fontane features an undulating facade and an oval dome with an intricate geometric coffered ceiling that seems to defy conventional architecture. At Sant'Ivo alla Sapienza, Borromini's spiral lantern tower symbolizes the flame of knowledge, appropriate for what was the chapel of Rome's university. Inside, the complex geometry creates a space that feels simultaneously rational and mystical. Borromini's genius lay in creating dynamic spaces that seem to expand beyond their actual dimensions. His churches use light as a material, capturing and directing it to create dramatic effects that change throughout the day. The essence of Baroque theatrical sensibility. For every famous monument in Rome, there are dozens of lesser-known treasures waiting to be discovered. In this section, we'll explore some of Rome's hidden gems, places that reveal different aspects of the city's character and history. The Regina Viarum, Queen of Roads, stretches 550 kilometers from Rome to Brindisi in southern Italy. Constructed beginning in 312 BCE, the Appian Way was the first and most important of Rome's great roads, vital for military movements and commerce. Walking on these same stones that supported Roman legions headed to war is a powerful experience. The road is lined with ancient tombs. Romans buried their dead outside the city walls, and wealthy families constructed elaborate mausoleums as status symbols. Beneath this ancient road lie the catacombs, underground burial networks used primarily by early Christians. The catacombs of San Callisto, among the largest, contain the remains of several early popes and martyrs. These narrow passageways, dug through soft tufa stone, stretch for about 20 kilometers over multiple levels. Simple niches carved into the walls once held bodies wrapped in cloth. Some areas feature early Christian art, symbols like the fish, anchor, and dove that held special meaning for the persecuted community. Today, part of the Appian Way is a regional park, offering a peaceful retreat from the busy city center. On Sundays, the road is closed to traffic, allowing visitors to experience it as the ancient Romans would have, on foot. Hidden behind an unassuming facade on Via del Corso lies one of Rome's greatest private art collections. Palazzo Doria Pamphilj has remained in the same family for over 500 years, and unlike many aristocratic collections that were dispersed or moved to public museums, this one remains intact in its original setting. The Gallery of Mirrors, inspired by Versailles, showcases the family's wealth and taste, but the true treasures are the paintings. Masterpieces by Caravaggio, Titian, Raphael, Tintoretto, and Velázquez hang on silk-covered walls as they have for centuries. Velázquez's portrait of Pope Innocent XI, a Pamphilj family member, is considered one of the greatest portraits ever painted. Rome is not a museum, frozen in time, but a living, breathing city where approximately 3 million people go about their daily lives amidst extraordinary history. As our journey concludes, perhaps you'll join the millions who have tossed a coin into the Trevi Fountain, ensuring a return to the Eternal City. For as the saying goes, Roma non basta una vita. For Rome, one lifetime is not enough. This has been just an introduction, a glimpse of what makes Rome one of the world's most extraordinary cities. A place where history isn't confined to museums, but surrounds you at every turn. A place where beauty isn't just in grand monuments, but in small details. A hidden courtyard, a perfectly crafted espresso, the play of light on ancient stone. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the Eternal City. Until next time, this is Rome Cash. Arrivederci, Roma.